So, my first talk. Hi, this is me. My name is Ciocca, but you can call me Johnny. I'm married and a fresh father. She's our 11 months old baby girl. He's our rescued pain in my ass cat. I have, oh crap. Hang on, I'm having, okay.
No problem. There's a great picture to be stuck on. Don't worry about it all.
Okay, so as Matt already told, I have academic degrees in network administration and InfoSec. I worked as information security coordinator for the Federal Public Defense back in 2016. I work at Caixa. It's Brazil's federal state-owned bank. I've been there since February 2004. But Caixa is a huge place with banking branches all over the country. And I can safely say that I've had at least 10 different jobs in there, from branch routines and customer service, moving on to web design, blogging, then further away with database and ETL works. I'm currently Caixa's CSERT technical supervisor, focusing training our team and testing tools to improve our daily routines. I help our coordinator handle our incident response team, along with a process supervisor colleague. Allow me to dive a little in my history. So, last year I was a volunteer on ROADSEC, a Brazilian InfoSec convention that runs through the whole country. I was invited for some of the other editions to check things out, and I just loved it. The talks over there, the people, the energy. The energy there was amazing. So I decided I wanted to see the other side of it. When last year's edition happened here in Florianopolis, I enlisted. And then in the last minute, change of plans. I'd be their master of ceremonies. So I was about to present the whole thing. It was kind of overwhelming, but it was an awesome experience. So when this year started, I decided that I'd try to move up on that. I wanted to give a talk, but I had no idea what to do. Then over Twitter, the amazing Leslie Carlhart had just announced PancakeSCon, and I told her I'd love to submit a CFP, but I had no idea what to present. She helped me out with a single idea. If you were sitting at a bar with somebody who knew little about InfoSec, what would you tell them about? Passwords and vaults. I just love the subject, even if I don't have too much time or math background to study more about it. Besides, it's not that point I like actually. I like even more the human context to them, how people deal with authentication methods, how they come up with password ideas, what are their restraints and how they deal with them. But I always thought it was such a beaten up subject. It never occurred to me to talk about it. And so I submitted my first CFP to PancakeSCon. Then part 2 was to talk about a hobby. And I kept thinking that except from playing games, I didn't really have a hobby. I mean, I work practically 9 hours a day. I have a wife, a baby girl, the cat. The little free time I have, I'm messing with some random project that don't really matter, or I'm playing games. But then it hit me. I like to mess around my home. I know my way around tools and little fixes. So for PancakeSCon, I tried submitting something about changing a power outlet, I think. It's something I do every time I move. I could never find a place where the power outlet have triple exits. And so I buy new ones and change them all away. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be. Everyone wanted to be in on PancakeSCon. They had around 250 submissions for 23 slots. But I wasn't going to give up. That's when I saw GRIMM advertising their GRIMMCon CFP. And I thought, let's try that again. And so here we are, password vaults and dead routers. I'd like to point, for those who've seen GRIMM's ad about this presentation on social media, that they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. No relationship at all, at least regarding this presentation. If you came to watch because of that, I'm sorry to disappoint. But stay a while and listen. There may be something interesting for you here. So to start things up, one of the things I hate most about passwords is how we're still attached to old guidelines from times gone by. I do know that sometimes they're necessary because of system limitations, but even those have solutions. Bill Burr talked to the Wall Street Journal about his regret on NIST's infamous Special Publication 800-63 Appendix 8 guidelines, and how he felt that his advice back then did more harm than good. Frequent passwords led us to using weak patterns that we can memorize for daily usage. Forcing the use of special characters led everyone to alphanumeric replacements. So many accounts, how can any regular person use different passwords for each of them? And I'm gonna take a break here to say that I loved Alexander's presentation back there. It was awesome. It synergizes a lot with mine. So, continue. But Bill was too harsh. We didn't know back then what we know now. It's easier to be harsh when you're looking in hindsight than to correctly predict the future. The last paragraph of the first part of Appendix A clearly states that they didn't have much data on passwords users chose back then. I like this old quote that says, understanding is a three-edged sword. Your side, their side, and the truth. So one side is in the past. No one back there had the knowledge about password usage that we have today. Another side is what happened since then. People using patterns and reusing the same password in a gazillion websites. The truth, as I mentioned, is that the underlying data available has changed. What we know now, what we know has changed. What we can see has changed. Understanding this, we can move forward. So, okay, NIST didn't have enough data. Now we have a Wikipedia article on the most common passwords, sorted by year. We have websites dedicated to listing the top 10,000 most common passwords with their MD5 hashes. Oh, but I changed my letters for special characters, Johnny. Well, I've got some news for you. You all probably have seen that XKCD comic that's on the background, right? For those who haven't, they talk about entropy based purely on the length of the password, how entropy goes directly to password strength. So that uncommon base word troubadour becomes that substitution mess. Can you remember it? Okay, now a month later you must change it. And you shouldn't reuse the same password for different services. Email, a few social networks, the newspaper you like, your music subscription service, your video streaming service, your cell phone PIN, your work account password. And I say that considering there's only a single system in your work, or they have a single sign-on or some sort of password sync solution in place. First thing that happened in this scenario was that 78% of users in the last 90 days used the I forgot my password mechanics. That according to a Hyper study last year. Second thing that happened was password reuse, which led to credential stuffing, with 73% of users having duplicate passwords according to LDAP Wiki. So let's think about it. You need a new password. You follow the old guidelines. So I'm gonna think about something I like, some phrase I like, some quote I like, some music I like. Harder, better, faster, stronger. HBFS. Okay, we still need numbers to add complexity. So 2019. Turns out HBFS 2019 takes 2 hours to crack. Okay, I'm gonna change the 20 from 2019 to shift 2, shift 0. Okay, you added 9 hours to break. But then you decide to use the whole thing. Harder, better, faster, stronger with spaces. That takes 385 decillion years. I don't even know how many zeros there's in a decillion. So, enters a solution for most of these problems. Password vaults. You need to remember only one, preferably huge, probably composed of multiple words, a passphrase and not a password anymore. The vault deals with the rest. You don't even need to know or memorize those bastards anymore. You need a new password for the other social network? Done. Another one for your hidden email account? Why, here it is. Lots of different flavors also. Open source, proprietary, free to use, subscription based, single device, or cloud synced between desktop and mobile devices. You can go full ease of use or completely secure paranoid on a thumb drive that never accesses the internet. You can even make your own offline vault with pen and paper. And as my coach reminded me, if you have people snooping through your bag for passwords, that's an HR problem, not an IT one. But remember I said most vaults aren't a silver bullet. Nothing ever is. Don't ever believe in one outside of entertainment, games, TVs, movies, etc. Anyway, vaults. They don't work everywhere and they aren't meant for everyone. There are also solutions that aren't related to vaults at all. With Microsoft's passwordless authentication using their Authenticator app, 2FA solutions like RSA Secure ID, or other token OTP generator apps and gadgets. And let's not forget FIDO-enabled USB tokens. All of those are alternatives for authentication, and they can complement each other. We can talk more about this later if you'd like, because that wraps up the first part of my presentation. So, I think we all have at least one dead router stuck on some closet or box, right? I had this little guy. It was pretty good, had decent specs, 64 MB, USB, Samba, FTP, torrent support. All this back in 2012, here in Brazil, on a cheap thing. Then lightning struck, and apparently all its ports burned. And I think part of my brain burned along with them. Hang on, I'll explain why. I mean, I couldn't get any port to connect to it, you know? There were LEDs blinking when I turned it on, but that's about it. I threw it in a closet and forgot about it. Fast forward a few years, and I find myself reading about open source firmware. And one of the things was about using console access through UART to access a non-responsive router. I thought maybe that could fix all my troubles. So I got myself a USB UART cable, and would you look at that? First steps I followed from some forum post, and bam, LAN ports were working. But the one port was no good. Nothing worked for that. Completely toasted. Reading some more, and I thought that maybe with open firmware, I'd be able to route the one function to one of its LAN ports. But after searching and investigating its pieces, I couldn't get any WRT image that would work on it. Even thought about learning how to customize one, but it was so damn hard. I'm not really programmer material. I did spend about a week trying to figure out how to deal with it, but it was way out of my league. Eventually, I settled with having resurrected it with its stock firmware, and there we went to the closet again because I already had better firmware, better equipment around here. Fast forward some more years, and I was randomly reading stuff on the internet again, and a light flashed in my head. And that part of my brain that got fried along with the router suddenly came back to life. Its LAN ports still work. If its LAN ports work, it could work as a switch, right? And I could use its Wi-Fi, right? So let me back a few months now, because this actually happened right at the start of this quarantine. So last year, right about after Black Friday, Amazon still had a deal for the Echo Dot, and I've been dying to check it out. I always wanted to play with voice assistant and smart lighting, so I got myself an Echo Dot, went to AliExpress and bought some cheap lights. Actually, the last one I was expecting to come arrived today, and it's no good for me. Anyway, I got each one from a different manufacturer just to test them out. Turns out there's no big deal. You make a one-time setup with a manufacturer's app, sync it to Alexa, and it's done. You never need those damn apps again. That was then. Now, after some more reading, I found out that there are some options out there where not even the manufacturer's apps are needed, like Home System I/O. Anyway, back on track. Everything arrived quickly, but this all happened before I remember about switching. Wi-Fi signal at my home office was awful, the Echo Dot barely worked. I tested the smart lights at the living room, where Wi-Fi was good, and it worked superb. At the home office, no deal, they wouldn't even connect. And so they reverted to dumb lights. Enter the resurrected router. I already had a huge cable coming from the living room to my home office for my old desktop. It was just a matter of putting that cable on the router, setting things up. I even used this to properly set up my internal network, changing default equipment passwords, checking for eventual exposition of web interfaces, and moving away from 192.168.0.1. Now I got myself a fast replying Echo Dot working nicely with the lights. I have good morning and good night routines. I set up 4 or 5 sunset linked routines that change the brightness and color of my lamps. And I can't wait to see what else I'll be doing with this. Oh yeah, I bought a smart universal infrared controller, so probably the next step will be changing channels on my dumb TV using my voice. But I know I won't go as far as this guy I watched the other day that has so much automation at home. He even implemented an escape game. It looked awesome, but way out of my interest. So I'd like to take a few comments, to make a few comments, and share how was this new speaker experience for me, if you guys don't mind at all. Maybe it'll entice a couple of you to come out and join me some next time. First, there was cam and mic test with Rene and Christoph from GRIMM. Along with testing video and audio, they gave some amazing feedback about things to improve. For example, using my headset instead of the notebook speakers and microphones. I actually decided against that because when we tested, I was using another source for output sound instead of the notebook. I checked later and saw that when I use the same source for mic and output, the cancellation of output is way better. They told me about putting up better lighting or something behind so that my home office won't distract the attention from my audience, because I was pointing the camera over there where there are books, there are games, there are video games, there's a lot of stuff. What else? That was really awesome. I had never thought about stuff like this that way before, even if I already had done meetings with friends and work colleagues before. Then there were the slides review with Chris. He mapped out a lot of stuff I could improve. And it made me realize I had never before thought about searching on how to make a good presentation. On the second revision, he already told me it had improved a lot. I was really proud of that. So my first test run with Chris ended with the timer hitting 12 minutes and something. As he said, there was a lot he'd like to hear me talk about, since there was so much time left, and it would be easy to double on that time. My second test run was to myself. I swear, I added a lot of details, doubled the number of slides, and 12 minutes. I was looking at the screen thinking, how the hell did this happen? And that was all the reaction I could muster. I kept staring at the screen. And yeah, that's it. You see, one of the things I thought I'd do was make a better use of my camera being on the notebook. I could use its screen to keep my speech at sight and read it. English isn't my native language, so I'm better at reading than going through the motions. I guess you can already pick up when I was reading and when I decided to go off script. But I thought that maybe adding some points where I could expand without written text could help beef those 12 minutes up. As I write this, I was wrapping up a new version to send to Chris, and I clocked 22.5 minutes so far. I think I'll leave the other 7.5 minutes to Q&A. So this is it. You can reach me at Twitter or Telegram with the same handle. I'd like to thank GRIMM Cyber for hosting this GRIMMCon and having me aboard for my first talk. I would also like to thank Chris Dale for being my coach on this. And if we have time, I'm available for some questions.
Awesome. Well done, Johnny. Thank you so much. Appreciate you you coming out and presenting for us. The key takeaways that I get here is that most vaults aren't a silver bullet. That I like that you don't trust a silver bullet unless it's in a movie. I like that a lot. But yeah, the keeping our eyes on how we're protecting what it is that we're protecting. It actually has a theme that I'm sensing throughout the entire day of presentations, going back to I think even the first one. Thank you for calling out Leslie. She is amazing, and she pours herself into so many different people that is really nice to see people recognize the value that she provides, and individual value. You know,
Yeah.
I love what she told you. If you're sitting in a bar talking to someone with a little idea about InfoSec, what would you talk about? I'm going to stew on that one myself. And then moving into past details about password vaults and multi-factor authentication, and USB field enabled USB tokens, which are really cool. I like hearing about the dead router and how you found a way to bring it back to life and how to bring value about it. I think that one of the things, our community is one of doers, right?
Yeah.
Doers are celebrated because they should be. And so to bring out a hobby project where we all have the toasted thing. I've got 3 sitting behind me actually. But to be able to bring new life to that and to learn and push yourself to grow, that's an excellent thing. Echo Dots and AliExpress being great enablers there. Let's see see, I got a comment. Pima Cat is hilarious. And Kevin says Fido/U2F equals awesome. Leandro asks, Johnny, how can I choose a good free password vault software for my personal use?
So as I mentioned, there are lots of options out there. I guess Alexandre in the last presentation hit a few of those. Personally, I like LastPass and 1Password. At work, we use KeePass, if I'm not mistaken. We're looking into TeamPass right now, but TeamPass is not a one for personal usage. I guess I'd go over what's your main usage. Do you use a lot of desktop? Do you use a lot of mobile? Do you use only mobile? If you use only mobile, does that vault has integration to autofill passwords in apps? Or do you need to copy and paste it over? Because there are a lot of apps still that won't allow you to paste passwords over there. So that's actually gonna increase the difficulty of using a vault, because it will generate a hard to remember, a big password, and you're gonna have to, okay, it was A4, what was that again? I have to switch back to the app, look at the password again. There are those little things. The best advice I think I can give is try. You gotta try them.
All right, very well. Any other questions, guys? All right, great job, Johnny. Appreciate it very much.